Syria, the land of 1,000 stories. This is Syria, a land where every grain of dust carries history, and every stone holds memory. To understand Syria is to walk into the beating heart of civilization itself. Here, in the Fertile Crescent, humanity first learned to farm. Here, villages turned into cities, and cities into kingdoms. And here, empires rose and fell like waves crashing on an eternal shore. Geography, the crossroads of worlds. Syria's landscape is a masterpiece of contrasts. To the west, the coastal mountains, green and fragrant with pine, form a natural wall against the Mediterranean. Their peaks, like Mount Ansariya and Mount Hermon, catch snow in winter, feeding rivers that cut through valleys of olive trees and jasmine. To the east, the land transforms into the great Syrian desert, stretching into Iraq and Jordan. This desert is not empty but alive, with oases, caravans, and Bedouin tribes who for centuries have guided travelers through its shifting sands. Cutting across the country is the Euphrates River, one of the great lifelines of the world. Its waters feed crops of wheat, cotton, and barley. Along its banks lie ancient tells, mounds that hide entire buried cities like Mari, where kings once ruled palaces decorated with thousands of clay tablets. To the north, near Aleppo, volcanic fields of black basalt speak of a violent geological past, while in the south, the Horan Plain produces some of the richest soil in the region. Syria sits at the crossroads of continents, the bridge between Asia, Africa, and Europe. Caravans pass through here along the Silk Road, carrying silk, spices, and stories from China to Rome. Armies marched here, crusaders built castles here, and pilgrims crossed its plains on their way to Mecca. The ancient world, cradle of civilization. Archaeology reveals that Syria's story begins at the very dawn of humanity. At Tel Abu Huraira, some of the earliest evidence of farming was discovered, where wild wheat and barley were first cultivated. At Ebla, 4,000 years ago, scribes recorded laws and trade agreements on clay tablets, one of the oldest written archives in human history. Ugarit, a coastal city, gave the world the first known alphabet, the foundation of nearly every writing system we use today. Civilizations stacked upon each other like layers of an ancient palimpsest. The Assyrians and Babylonians brought power and empire. The Persians ruled with vast networks of roads and governors. Alexander the Great swept through, and after him, Greek culture mingled with Syrian traditions. The Romans left theaters, aqueducts, and colonnades that still stand in places like Bosra and Palmyra. Byzantium spread Christianity, turning Syrian cities into centers of theology. And then came the Arabs, carrying Islam, who made Damascus the capital of the mighty Umayyad Caliphate, the largest empire on earth at the time. Every invader left something behind, a temple, a fortress, a word, a custom. Syria became not just a land, but a library of human history. Cities of eternal life. Damascus, known as the City of Jasmine, it is often considered the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world. Narrow alleys twist through souks where spices, copper, and silk still tempt buyers. The Umayyad Mosque, a marvel of Islamic architecture, rises at its center, a place where Muslims, Christians, and Jews all find echoes of their traditions. Aleppo, once a titan of trade, its citadel, standing on a hill for thousands of years, dominates the skyline. Its covered bazaar stretched for miles, one of the largest in the Middle East, filled with merchants selling everything from soap to pistachios. Palmyra, the desert jewel, where Queen Zenobia once challenged Rome itself. Its towering columns and temples seemed eternal, glowing in the desert sun, until war scarred them, yet even broken, they inspire awe. Bosra, with its black basalt Roman theater, still perfectly preserved, where even today performances echo as they did 2,000 years ago. Malula, a village carved into cliffs, where people still speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus, chanting prayers that have lasted 2 millennia. Each city is a chapter, each ruin a verse in Syria's endless poem. The people, a mosaic of identities. Syria has always been diverse, and its people reflect centuries of migration and empire. The majority are Arabs, but large communities of Kurds inhabit the north and northeast. Armenians, survivors of the genocide, rebuilt lives in Aleppo and Damascus. Assyrians, one of the world's oldest Christian peoples, still preserve their language and liturgy. Turkmen, Circassians, and Yazidis add more colors to the mosaic. Religions, too, intertwine. Sunni Islam forms the majority. Alawites, a branch of Shia Islam, dominate the coastal regions. Christians, once 10% of the population, belong to dozens of denominations: Greek Orthodox, Syriac, Maronite, Armenian, Chaldean, and more. The Druze, a secretive religious group, live in the mountains of the south. This diversity has been both Syria's strength and its challenge, a source of cultural richness, but also of tension. Culture, the soul of the Levant. Syria is more than ruins, it is living culture. Aleppo soap, made of olive oil and laurel, has been crafted for over 1,000 years. Damascus steel, legendary blades, sharp yet flexible, that armed warriors across continents. Textiles and silk from Damascus gave the world the word Damask. Cuisine, from kibbe stuffed with lamb and pine nuts, to sweet nafe dripping with syrup, to endless plates of mezze shared in laughter. Music and dance, the haunting sound of the oud and ney, the rhythmic beat of the dabka, and the mystical chants of Sufi singers. Poetry and literature, Syria gave the Arab world great thinkers like Nizar Qabbani, the poet of love and revolution. Even in exile, Syrians carry these traditions like seeds, planting them wherever they go. The natural world, life in the ruins. Though often seen as arid, Syria hides ecological treasures. In the forests of the coastal mountains roam wild boars, wolves, and gazelles. Migratory birds, storks, pelicans, and steppe eagles, cross Syria's skies on their way between continents. The northern bald ibis, one of the rarest birds on earth, clings to survival in the Syrian desert. Scorpions, vipers, and desert foxes thrive in the Palmyrene wastelands. In ancient times, even lions and elephants roamed here. The now extinct Syrian elephant once inspired royal hunts recorded in Assyrian reliefs. Nature here is harsh but resilient, just like the people. Modern history, triumphs and tragedies. After centuries under the Ottomans, Syria gained independence in 1946. Hopes of Arab unity soared, Syria even briefly united with Egypt in the short-lived United Arab Republic. But decades of coups and political struggles followed, until Hafez al-Assad rose to power in 1970. His rule, and later his son Bashar's, brought stability to some, repression to others. Then came 2011. What began as peaceful protests turned into civil war. Millions fled, millions more were displaced within. Cities like Aleppo and Homs became symbols of devastation. Refugees spread across Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and far beyond, from Germany to Brazil. Yet even in exile, Syrians carried their culture, building new communities abroad. In Sao Paulo, Syrian restaurants serve kibbe. In Berlin, children learn Arabic alongside German. The diaspora is now as much a part of Syria's identity as the homeland itself. The spirit of Syria. Despite tragedy, Syria's spirit endures. Athletes still compete under the flag. Writers and musicians still create. Children still play in courtyards fragrant with jasmine. Families still gather for coffee and laughter. For Syria is not only war. It is the laughter in Damascus souks, the taste of Aleppo pistachios, the sight of snow on Mount Hermon, the sound of church bells mingling with the call to prayer. Syria is a land that has given the world alphabets, empires, saints, and songs. A land of ruins, yes, but also of resilience. A land scarred, but never broken. And so the manuscript continues, each chapter written not only in stone and sand, but in the hearts of its people, wherever they may be.